Hi, my name is Seth.
And I'm Youjin.
She's a German costume designer. I'm an American opera singer. We live in Berlin.
And we're having a baby during a pandemic.
Stick around for SETH LEARN DAD.
So I'm in a practice room, sitting at a piano, learning music, because that's what I have to do right now. Because I got to work in August, and I'm just having trouble. It's hard to get motivated. It's hard to practice music that you don't know if you're going to perform. I'm definitely not the only one who feels this way. Everybody's going through this right now, but I love what I do, and I'm fulfilled practicing, and I'm fulfilled singing, but it's a collaborative art form, and it's theater. So it's hard to get excited about not knowing if we're going to work. But on top of that, I'm having just also some bureaucratic issues. I had a passport that it was expiring in May, and I was going to renew it when I was in the States in April. But of course, when that contract was canceled, the trip was canceled, and I scrambled to try and get an appointment to renew my passport in Berlin, but the consulate is closed. So I didn't know what to do. I emailed all kinds of people, got no detailed responses, just automated responses about what I should do. So I sent my passport to them anyway, because I thought, well, the moment the office opens, it's better for it to be there. So it expired. I've been walking around with a photocopy of an expired passport and a photocopy of my visa. And then I get an email from the house in Austria where I'm supposed to work next. And they say, your passport's expired according to our records, and you need a valid passport to get a visa and a work permit to come to Austria. And we're also having a baby, and there's all this bureaucracy that has to happen around having a baby. For example, we're not married. So in order to get a birth certificate, I have to go and get a declaration of paternity. And I can't do that without ID, and I don't have valid ID. So I have no idea if I'm going to be able to get a birth certificate when my son is born. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to get a work visa to work in Austria. So I don't know if I'm learning music that I'll be legally allowed to perform. Of course, I hope everything works and it works out, but that's just how I feel today. It is what it is. So all I can do is keep learning music. So it is Thursday night, like 10 o'clock. I got an email yesterday, Wednesday morning, that said, we've granted you an emergency passport appointment in Frankfurt at 9:30 Friday morning. So that's your option. And I immediately booked a train and booked a hotel and did 2 interviews today, and then jumped in on the S-Bahn and went straight to the train station. And now I'm halfway there. I'm on a train platform in Göttingen right now, waiting for my connection. I'll get in after midnight, and I got my backpack packed. Short trip. And hopefully after tomorrow morning, after my appointment at 9:30, I will be able to go home with an emergency passport and then be able to do all the other stuff I need to do. Fingers crossed. Here I am again on the road. So yeah, I got the US passport, the temporary passport that I needed. So then the game became all about checking daily to see when the Austrian consulate was going to reopen again after their lockdown. And last week, it finally happened. They opened up. They said, we will start having appointments next week. So I scrambled and made one as fast as I could. But in the process of doing that, I've discovered that I couldn't apply for an Austrian visa without my German visa, and they would only accept the actual thing, not a photocopy, which is all I had, because my German visa is still in my US passport, which is in the US right now, being renewed. So anyway, scrambling to get documents from different offices and different people, and then booking a last-minute trip to Munich because in order to get an Austrian visa, I have to come to Munich to do fingerprints. So I've been on a train all afternoon, just arrived in Munich. I have my appointment at 10 o'clock tomorrow. I'm still waiting for one document that will hopefully be emailed to me in the morning at 9 a.m. So yeah, that's that. I was trying to do this in the baby room / dining room, which is bright yellow walls, and it made everything look yellow. So I came to a more neutral room. Bright yellow.
And also, you know that kids love palm colors.
Well, that's fine. When I bought that paint color, the lady at the paint store said she wouldn't sell it to me unless I lived on the 4th floor or higher, because she said that it would attract bees.
So caring of the lady that she's so worried that a bee would come to your place.
I know, yeah. Really was very serious about it, in fact. So I'm talking today to Viviana Barrios. She is the associate to the artistic director at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. All right, so let's just go on. So tell me where you're from. Start with there, the easy, obvious question.
Okay, I was born in Germany and grew up in Bielefeld, which is around 400 kilometers west from Berlin. Yeah, that's it.
Well, what about your family history? Are your parents from Germany?
No, my parents are both from Chile, South America. And there we have a very funny mixture of all different roots. As far as I know, there are mostly Spanish, but also Italian, Jewish, German, Irish. Yeah, that's what I know of.
Your family, your parents come from Chile, and there's a lot of mixture that in there. You said, where is your husband from?
My husband is from Georgia, not the U.S. state Georgia, but the country Georgia, and no mixture there, as far as I know. He's like pure Georgian. Grew up there and came here only as an adult.
Yeah. How did you guys end up together? What brought you together in your lives?
We met at the opera. He was hired in the theater Bielefeld as a singer, and I was, anyways, I started very young, kind of working in the theater, because as a kid I was an extra and I was in the kids choir, and that's where I caught the virus to, this is bad to say nowadays, to work in the opera house. And yeah, no, I loved it very much to be there, and got to know very much of an insight already when I was a child. I loved it so much that I continued even while I was in university. I continued to be part of the extra choir there, and that's when I met my now husband.
So you were in the extra choir, you met him there. What were you studying at the university at the time?
I have to think now. I think I already finished law at university, and I was doing my practical time called the Referendariat. Yeah, I finished law school, so that's my professional background. So
you ended up, this great romance began, and you eventually got married. And how many children do you have now? That's really what we want to get to, I guess.
After a couple of steps, I ended up on board of Deutsche Oper, and we lived here together as a couple. Oh, and when we moved to Berlin, Micha started to work freelance. Why? Because I wanted him. Well, we were already living together in Bielefeld, and we didn't want to split, and we didn't want to be one in Berlin and one in Bielefeld. So we said, okay, let's try this. He already had 2 guest contracts at that time. So yeah, he gave it a try. So we moved to Berlin, and that was in 2008. And in 2012, our first daughter was born, and in 2017, the second. So now we have 2 girls.
2 little girls. That's so great. What interested me about your story is because you're German, like my partner, but also your parents come from somewhere else, and Misha comes from somewhere else. So your your two daughters are, of course, going to be growing up German, but I'm interested in how you are going to keep them connected to the cultures of where their people come from, keep them connected. Are you making an effort to keep them connected to Chile and to Georgia and so on?
Yeah, this was really also a question to us before they were born. And I would have loved to make it possible to let them grow up bilingual, at least, if not, do you say trilingual?
Sure, yeah.
But our everyday life showed that this is impossible. The thing is that both of them joined kindergarten with only 1 year old. And I'm working full-time because in theater it's kind of impossible to work part-time. So they are in daycare really 8 hours a day. And the process they do with the language is so fast that you then have to sit down and make up this time in another language. And I just couldn't, because my time was so limited, or is still so limited, that we really have to function. It's not that we can sit and really invest time in language coaching.
Something that I'm curious about is just the different ways that children react to our careers, the different careers in this business. I have a pretty good handle on how it works with singers, but thinking about the kind of career path that you are on, which forgive me for assuming, but I think you would like to move out of the position that you're in and move up the ladder towards being more in charge artistically in a company at some point. Is there anything that having the children has made that more difficult?
The thing is that our jobs, no matter if on stage or behind the stage, needs a lot of flexibility and needs a lot of commitment. So we need to give, and on stage, of course, in a completely different way. But we have to have a passion for what we do. Otherwise, it's really very hard to handle it as a 9-to-5 job. It's kind of impossible. And I have to say, I really love my job. I really like what I do, and I feel very lucky to do what I do. The thing is that I'm also completely aware of not being able to show this flexibility to my job while the kids are small. So and I'm totally fine. Of course I want to make further steps, but I'm not that ambitious that I would do it no matter what. So I'm happy to wait for the moment to come when they're older. And I've experienced it. I have been traveling also for job reasons when Emmy was smaller, and I could leave her with my mother. But now with 2, I cannot really put that on my mom. And she also gets older, and the smaller one, Sophie, she's not really so easygoing with that. So yeah, you always have to see what you can do, what you can't. And and I'm telling about me and my mom and the whole system, because we can barely plan on Micha's schedule. Sometimes things are fixed, but that means he's gone. And if he's here, we cannot rely on this 100% because there might come an offer in that he wants to take. So we always have to plan completely as if I would do everything by myself, more or less.
I understand that. Yeah, that's something that we think about as well, because
for a freelance, he's a freelancer and he has to, he has not to take everything, but most of the things he wants to do. And it's if you have the opportunity, then of course I'm not saying no. This is important that he remains in the market, so that's why.
How frequently was he on the road away when the babies were very small?
Different. There was, for example, when the first one was born, he had just finished a production before the due date, so he was then at home for really, I would say, 4 months or so.
Oh, good.
And there was only one situation where he was gone for a concert or so, but that was very little. So he was a lot at home. but then when she was 4 months old, then there was a new production and he left for a long stretch again. For the second one, it was really crazy because that was when he was gone a lot, and she was born a week ahead, and it was in a gap of 50 hours where he could make it to come home. So it was really,
Oh my God.
a strange. It was a strange puzzle, and also my mom couldn't come at that time, and all the friends who I could ask for help were busy. I mean, that was really a very intimidating moment, because I knew, oh my God, at any time now, I need to run to the hospital, and I really don't know where to let Emmy. I mean, I have to take her with me. I guess. I don't know. It was really hard. And
Jeez.
people who had also told me, yeah, you can call me. And I saw that so many people were leaving. And then I called someone I don't want to name, and learned that these people were leaving for a vacation spontaneously, and said, okay, good for you, have fun. It was really, a little, I mean, that was a little of craziness there, but
God.
in the end, everything worked out, because Micha arrived in one evening, because I said, I don't know, please, I know you have only very little time, but please, can you make the way back and forth? And he was very tired, and he said, yeah, okay. And he came one evening, and the next morning we had to go to the hospital. And so he was here during the birth, and the day after, in the evening, I think he left again. So it was really being at home, like, I don't know, 1.5 days. And I had to leave. My mom came then, and by cab, I went home from the hospital after 2 days. Yeah. My midwife told me that she knows so many women that would freak out in my situation, but I was kind of used to that I somehow have to handle things. And if I freak out, it wouldn't help. It doesn't make it better, It's just find a solution.
On that note about freaking out and finding solutions, it's interesting to me that like so much of your job is about fixing things for other people and babysitting opera singers who can be quite childish. What do you find more demanding, taking care of your actual children or taking care of your big adult children?
That's very easy to answer. My own children. And I tell you why. Because that's seriously and completely my responsibility. Whereas if someone behaves too childish or too stupid in my office, I can just say, you know what? Not my pair of shoes. Have a nice day. Goodbye. That's very easy.
That's
I cannot
perfect.
do that with my kids.
I guess not. I think some parents try to do that, but it doesn't usually work.
You have to be a role model to them. It's not to give up, when you face a hard situation is not a solution.
Okay, so the one thing that I'm going to be doing with all of these interviews is I have a little questionnaire that I put together that I want to ask everyone these same questions. And I gave them to you in advance, so I hope I'm not putting you too much on the spot here by throwing these at you. So the first question is, what is the best piece of advice that anyone gave you, and or the worst piece of advice anyone gave you regarding parenting? So I'll accept one or the other or both. It's up to you, because I know that's a tough question to remember from those years ago, before you were a parent.
Regarding parenting, a very good advice, and I don't know, I think maybe from my mom, just to follow your instincts. Don't read too much books, or don't listen to others, because you will develop a feeling of how your own child function. And I can tell, as a mother of two, it's not that there's always the same situation with the same reaction. It's really every one of us is individual, and so of course certain things work for everyone, but instincts are a very good advisor.
I have a stack of 5 books next to my bed. I'll throw them all away now.
Well, you can read them. It's not a farm, but if in the book it says you have to put your child upside down and make him sleep, or I don't know what, try, but find out what is your feeling about that.
So, what did no one tell you? This is question 2. What did no one tell you before you became a parent, and that you wish they had told you in advance?
A lot. Really a lot of things I weren't told. And I think the smaller they are, the more you will face tiny situations and bits and pieces that you are not prepared to. My very first shocking situation was actually in the hospital. Labor was also shocking, but I think there we know more or less that there are shocking stories about labors. But then to be in bed with a newborn next to you, and you don't know that you are asked, they wake you up constantly every, I don't know what, 4 hours and force you to do breastfeeding. They treat you like you were, I don't know, treating your kids bad when you don't follow their scheduling. So I had no idea, and I was not emotionally not in the situation to stand up and put my foot down and say, you know what, leave my room. I was prepared, totally prepared for the second one. I said, if anyone is going to tell me how this is going to work, out of my room immediately. I will never ever allow someone else. I was really feeling bad and weak at that situation. So this was one thing I remember very well. And then this is a very personal thing. I knew that I would have lived little time. This is not that this was of a surprise to me, and I also knew I would have little sleep. But the step from knowing and experiencing is something that is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was huge. I knew it, and to live it is a completely different thing. And also that you are so controlled by the baby then,
Right.
you cannot really decide, oh, you know what, I have a shower now or in 2 hours. Life is upside down, and you just have to learn how to face all the new situations, and this keeps you so busy that you feel happy when you can have a shower. I mean, it's really, sometimes babies are just crying all the time and are not, I mean, they're sometimes angel babies, they just sleep and they're hanging somewhere, but I guess this is not what I experience. My kids are full of energy from the first moment till now, and I hope it never changes, because it's always good to see them so happy and energetic, but it's very demanding at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, good. That's great. So question number 3 is, what is the one toy or piece of equipment or distraction, whatever, that you absolutely couldn't have survived without?
Yeah, I mean, with the first one, it was really essential to have her, to carry her around, and the only thing that would make her calm down when she was really crying badly was the cello concert by Tchaikovsky. Is it a concert or sonata?
A concerto.
And both of them loved very much to sit in front of the washing machine. They had a rocking chair, and we put them in the rocking chair in front of the washing machine. And because that, moves all the time, they loved to do that. But it's more like situations where they really enjoyed doing something. And of course, both of them have a dear toy or puppet. Emmy has a little rabbit, and everyone who knows Emmy knows that she has this little rabbit, and without the rabbit, nothing is possible.
Tchaikovsky, washing machine, and stuffed rabbit. Perfect.
Yeah, but the washing machine is not a toy that I mean, you need a washing machine, that's for sure, but it's not a toy. It's like you will wash a lot of clothes when you have kids.
Number 4, what did your parents do when you were a child that you swore you would never do as a parent, but then you ended up doing it anyway, of course?
I was thinking and trying to find a cool answer, but I think I'm a very boring person and there is really nothing I can think of, really nothing. It's not that I adore so much my parents that I would not dare to say something, but I mean, I adore them, but if there would be something, I would feel like I can tell it. No, I was never so, how do you call, rebellious?
Rebellious, yes. Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. So my last question, I'll let you go soon, is how do you change a diaper? I've never done it. I have no idea what I'm going to do, and I'm just looking for tips from everybody. I'm sure everybody has slightly different techniques. So how do you do it?
Are there so many techniques? I don't know.
I don't know.
Should I describe it?
Sure, why not?
Okay. We're talking about the situation that the diaper is on, okay? So you put the child in a safe place, take off clothes, then you open the diaper, you wipe with the upper layer what you have to wipe off, put the diaper together so it's the clean side outside, put that in a trash. Then you have a wet wipe, you clean everything that needs to be cleaned. Then you take a new diaper, you lift the baby. When they're small, you can just hold the feet and lift them a little bit up. When they're older, they do that by themselves. You put the diaper underneath, you put the legs down again, you have to open the legs a little bit, then you put the upper layer on top again, and then quite tight you have to close the sides. Done and done.
You know, that sounds so clear. I think you are going to be the standard description from which I have to judge all the other interviews from. So, is there anything else that you would like to say or talk about or tell me?
Well, what you did not mention, and I think that's very essential, especially for people in our industry, having kids in our industry is really a logistic challenge. Yeah. You have to have someone you can rely on, as I told before, not just some people being nice in a minute and then not sticking to that. You really have to know that the kids are not functioning like machines. They can get sick. I was very lucky, extremely lucky, that my kids were not sick often, and that really, even if I was all by myself over a month. Now, before the lockdown, Micha was gone like 7 months in a row. So this, then you have to have a network of babysitters who can come, or you have relatives or friends who can do that. Without this, you will feel extremely distressed to really have to handle everything. And if you're called in, you know, as a singer, or if I have to stay longer, you really, for your own emotional health or whatever you would call it, you need to have someone you can call. This needs planning all the time. And to have kids is anyways a mental overload all the time. But no, this is very, very important. And sometimes when singers tell me, oh, I would like to have a child, yeah, but do you have someone who could help you? That's really absolutely necessary. This is something I would really recommend to everyone.
Well, I had my appointment. Seems like everything checked out. They took everything from me. They took my temporary passport, so now I'm back to having no ID. But I think I'll be okay, because they said it should only take about a week, I think, before I can get it. They'll send it to me, so I think I'll be able to work in August. So now I guess I better go back to Berlin and get back to practicing.
Confinement song number 1 dedicated to all the parents out there. Day one, this is fun. There is cooking to be done. There is food for everyone, but it's still just day one. I like this together. We are all in this together. Working all the time is over. This is everything and better.